Hello everyone, welcome to the news desk here at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. I'm your host Rich Hagan alongside the Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler. With 2 rounds to go, constructed is everywhere, but we're going to cleanse our palate for a few minutes, Randy, by having a little look the Eldritch Moon Spotlight on Limited. We saw 6 rounds of draft. So my first question, before we get into all the stats and the archetypes and most successful, give us just a sense of what we saw in those 6 rounds of Limited.
It looks sweet. I mean, that is the consensus opinion. You go out there, just about everybody out there is talking about how much they enjoy drafting this set, how much you get to play sweet games. It goes a little bit longer than it did with Pure Shadows. You have time to set up more kind of crazy cool stuff. You know, its removal in creatures is good enough. You don't have to have an aggro linear strategy. You don't have to have, you know, a linear on rail strategy either, but you can. If you want to draft aggro, you can. If you want to draft, you know, cool synergy decks, you can draft those too. It seems to have kind of a lot of everything.
Which is kind of why Ben Stark, who knows a thing or two about Limited, what did he say about it?
Yeah, he just said this is one of his favorite draft formats in years.
Right. I mean,
Marshall's been saying the same thing. There's another connoisseur of Limited
and
formats.
They were starting to quote things like Modern Masters and like really just giants of Limited history.
Definitely.
I'm looking forward to months and months of playing this. So you've assembled.
Look, you got to tip your cap to R&D at some level.
Sure.
Both Limited and Constructed for Eldritch Moon, they nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just gameplay at the expense of flavor or flavor at the expense of gameplay.
Right.
The marriage has been superb.
Agreed.
Like Emerge, on the face of it, like, you know, if we strip away all the beautiful artwork and the flavor, we're at a thing where it costs 8, but we're going to let you do a down payment over here, which once it started, like your old car runs out of usefulness, we're going to let you trade that in for a newer model that's a bit better and has more bells and whistles.
Yep.
I mean, you know, that's pretty real functional nuts and bolts stuff.
It sounds almost dry and mechanical.
It really does.
But then you're like, no, it's chest bursters. The Eldrazi are corrupting people and blah.
It's like my cultist turns into wretched Griff. It's fantastic. So that's really beautiful marriage, and that's no accident. And part of that is that there are a lot more of the flavor. The creative team are now embedded firmly inside the R&D decision-making process. They don't hand off the story and say, off you go make this for us. It is now absolutely every day they're going, you know what would be really cool if we could get this bursting out of here, or, you know, Imprisoned by the Moon could actually be a thing. So that marriage of mechanic and flavor is just superb. But we, of course, were at the spiky end of Magic coverage for sure, and we want to know what's best. So, so you eschewed lunch, thank you so much for that, got out the old pen and paper and system, and took a look at some of the best archetypes. So
we did.
What did we learn in the number crunching?
So 37 decks went 3-0. These are the day 1 decks from yesterday. We can look at the color pairs and see, okay, there's 10 color pairs. How do they line up? Let's put the numbers up.
Okay. So here we go. Let's start off with white-blue has 3, so does white-black, so does blue-black. Then big win there for blue-red at 6, black-red at 5, black-green at 5. Not so many for red-green or green-blue. Green-white has 4 somewhere in the middle, and red-white, well, I'm glad to see that data was borne out, because I don't like red-white at all.
It's not that far off, though. I mean, I look at these numbers, and sure, you're right, red-white did the worst, blue-red did the best, but don't those numbers look shockingly close?
Right, and it gives you a great opportunity, if you are naturally an aggressive drafter, to go, hey, if not many people were successfully drafting red-white, that suggests, and people watching this right now are going, so maybe red-white isn't that great.
Yeah.
That is an avenue of opportunity, because draft through history has been self-correcting.
Absolutely.
So you sit down with 7 people who don't like red-white, you're going to get all the ride downs.
Yeah, I actually would have expected, oh, the blue-green deck is going to be crushing it. The people who actually got the Emerge deck are going to kill it. And yeah, sure, blue-green did better than the average 2-color pair, but it really is a matter of read your table, figure out what's underdrafted, go to that. And another way you can look at the same data is rolling it up by color. Can be useful if you're trying to understand, okay, fine, that was the 2-color pairs, but
let's do that then.
Let's look at what happens when you roll it up by color.
All right, so now all the decks that featured white as a main color, 12, so that's the least, not least because of red-white as a pair, but everything else, absolute remotely even.
Isn't it?
That is awesome.
Yeah, I think it is. The format is wide open. You can do any of the things when the opportunity presents itself, when you open the right card, when you get past the right card. You can do just about anything in this format. I feel like it's really, really well balanced. And in fact, you see white is the weakest here. We didn't do all the 3-0 decks. We haven't had time to crunch all those numbers from this morning's drafts. But we did look at who the 6-0 drafters were, and a bunch of them were actually on white decks today.
Huh.
So the underdrafted color?
Maybe they saw the way to move in.
Yeah. So super interesting format. At the top line, people are talking about all the sweet plays, but when you get into the numbers, quite well balanced format as well. And that's, I think, one of the big differences between the format that's fun the first 5 or 10 times you draft it versus the format that you're like, draft 50. Come on, hit me. I want to draft again. Oh, it's coming back. Let me draft that format. I've only drafted it 100 times in my life. Like, that's the difference, I think, is when you get the sweet things and you also get the balance.
Okay. Now, we had the Draft Master contest. That's been a fantastic addition to the Pro season. So great to bring you that, because each and every morning at the Pro Tour, 3 really important rounds happen, not just for the context of the tournament, but for this slot at the World Championship. And I've got to say, Randy, I'm really pleased that the way it's panned out, it wasn't won by someone falling across the finish line with a just about 4-2 and missing, beating a bunch of 3-3s.
Right.
In the end, Marcio Carvalho ran the table twice. He went 3-0, 3-0.
No, not twice. The dude hasn't lost since Shadows came out. Not only did he 6-0 Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, he also 6-0'd Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad. He hasn't lost since like last year.
Well, that really does cement just what a worthy winner he is of the Draft Master. But it wasn't only Master Carvalho who was a master of draft at this Pro Tour. Here are the 5 6-0 drafters, and they are a terrific lineup, Randy.
Absolutely.
We start with Marcio Carvalho on the left there. Very happy to go in different directions. You see blue-black first time around, and then today, white-green.
Yeah, 4 different colors between his 2 decks.
And then next to him is Oscar Christensen. Now, not made a ton of marks at the Pro Tour level, but at Grand Prix level, 2 Grand Prix titles to his name. Again, white both times. Blue-white, white-green. Then it's Reed Duke.
Yeah, Reed has been great. Also, reading the drafts, we got to talk to him about his second draft. Brad Nelson has been killing it in limited lately. A couple of white decks, a couple more aggressive decks, a couple color pairs that maybe people weren't quite as interested in getting, but Brad made it work. 6-0 in limited so far this weekend.
This certainly doesn't surprise me unduly to see Brad being aggressive. I think that's very much in his wheelhouse for limited.
But winning in limited has not historically been in his wheelhouse.
That is true.
And then Sam Pardee, who we think just clinched top 8.
We do. 12-2. We believe that's it. Now, Brad Nelson, by the way, he is gone because he fell to 9-5 this past round, just to fill you in on that. But we should talk then about some of the archetypes that are very popular because, hey, look, when there are 10 out there, you did 20 drafts, you've probably only drafted some of these archetypes once or twice. So give us a flavor of some of the best ones that you think coming out of PTEMN.
Yeah, I think that if you can get it, Green Blue Emerge is the best deck. It is the most powerful deck when it comes together. I also think it's super fun. Like being able to get things like the Cultist that you can sacrifice for value and the Wretched Griff. Like those cards are just awesome. Foul Emissary is another great fit for that deck. It's a little popular, it's a little tough to get, but if you can put it together, I think Green Blue just is the best deck. It's the most fun place to be and the most powerful place to be, and we did see that borne out in the numbers. There were more 3-0 Green Blue decks than any of the other color pairs.
I would like to register a complaint to R&D, however, because there is a bit of a misnaming of a card. No one ever lost a 10th of their life from a Decimator of the Provinces. Everyone loses to that card. That card is nuts. I know it's mythic rare, so it's meant to be really good, but the number of times we watched at the GP and the PT these last 2 weeks, players against that card trying to work out whether they were dead. And I just wish I had business cards to hand out going, you are, no, you really are. Because nobody survives that card. It's not like Emrakul, the Promised End. Yeah, you can have my turn, then I'm going to have yours. You can make me have a World Breaker to get me off the mana. Nah, Emrakul's not where it's at. That Decimator just ends the game. It's amazing.
Fair.
Such a good card. What's next for you?
For me, the other deck that is the most powerful when you can get it is also super fun. Blue-red spells matter.
Right.
This deck is just sweet. You get to draw cards, you get to bounce things. You know, Thermal Alchemist is a lot better than he looks at first glance. You've got, you know, you can have a creature-heavy version of this, but the most fun ones are the spell-heavy versions of this. You know, even Pyrehound Leftover from Shadows is great, but just a super sweet deck that when it comes together, and this is one that it's not as hard to get as Blue-Green Emerge. It's not like you have to get those uncommon Emerge cards. You just have to get spells. There's a lot of them, and other people don't even want them, so it's not that hard to put together and is, in fact, quite powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is blue-red spells matter. Give us another one, because that's two, and we've gone blue twice. We've gone blue-green with Emerge, and blue-red there, spells matter.
Sure.
So see if we can find something for the not blue players. Are there any not blue players?
I hear rumors. I don't really know. Maybe.
Yeah. We don't really understand this, but anyway, we'll pretend that we do.
Yeah, the Black-Red Vampires deck is legit. This deck is fast. It's hard. I mean, you can say, oh, the White-Red deck is the aggro deck. I think the Black-Red Vampires deck is the best aggressive deck in the format. And there's so many cards that say discard a card, kind of almost incidentally in these colors. And there's so many cards that have the word madness printed on them. There's vampire synergies that are also good. Like, you can just sit down and say, look, I want to play aggro. I'm going to force the Black-Red Vampires deck. You'll probably get it because the other people are probably trying to get the various blue decks, and it's great. I know Jacob Wilson in particular is a fan, and you know he 2-1'd on Pod 1 this morning with this basic strategy.
And Pod 1, in case you're wondering, was one of the most absurd tables that the Pro Tour has seen in many, many years. So have you got one more, or three? Have you settled
those are the highlights,
three?
I think. That gives you a good spread about what's possible in the format, and yeah, Eldritch Moon, super fun to play with. I look forward to drafting it in a couple of hours.
Eldritch Moon is just a terrific limited format, and that's a guide to EMN in limited.